topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Hello and welcome to Fearless, Fabulous You. I am your host, Melanie Young. It is a beautiful spring day here in New Orleans. It is early April 8th, 2026. And we're going to talk about, no guests today, but a lot of interesting content. We're going to talk about something that I absolutely love doing, particularly right now, and that is reading. Not just, we're not scrolling, reading. When I am under stress, and would you believe April is National Stress Awareness Month, but we're not going there. We're going to talk about the joy of reading. Why? Because I think that reading is an important way to relax, expand your knowledge, transport yourself somewhere, and get away from the noise, the constant noise and doomsday strolling that is taking over social media. I have had to pull back on social media for that reason because I find that you end up just scrolling and looking at terrible things. And the more you look at them, like news, or images that they keep coming back. And so I have started reading more and also listening to music as a way to relax. Now, this is nothing new. I started reading as a little girl. My love of books began when I was not even in grammar school. My mother was a speech therapist, my father a CPA. They both loved to read. Later in life, they became authors. I would go to my mother's speech therapy classes because she couldn't get a babysitter. And it was at that time listening to her give lessons on helping people with basically children who were deaf learned phonetics. I learned to read, and I started reading really young, like maybe 4. And my mother would take me to the public library and we would pick out books. I remember with pride, I got my library card, and sometimes she would leave me there with librarians who would watch over me while I read, while she did errands. My love of reading never stopped. I always was reading at least one book. I remember crying once because I checked out more books than I thought I could read before the due date, and I thought I was going to get in trouble. My mother and father and grandfather assured me I wouldn't get in trouble, that I could read at my own time and at my own skill. That was then, and this is now. I've been reading all my life. I later went on to become an author. I have written 2 books, Getting Things Off My Chest, A Survivor's Guide to Staying Fearless and Fabulous in the Face of Breast Cancer, and Fearless, Fabulous You, Lessons on Living Life on Your Terms, which is a book of helpful essays to deal with setbacks. And that actually was the inspiration for this show, to help women deal with changes in their life and move forward. As you know, if you follow me, I interview a lot of authors about their books, and I must be reading on average 2 or 3 books at a time. So we're going to talk about some of the books that I'm recommending that maybe the authors are not going to be on the show. We're also going to talk about interesting facts about reading that are kind of fun. And I'm going to really try to help you think about ways to get more involved in reading as well. First of all, support your local library. One of the first things I did when I moved to New Orleans and when I lived in New York, in the Hudson Valley, and also in New York City, is I got a library card. The public libraries are a wealth of not only great books, but also you can read magazines, so you don't have to pay for a lot of magazine subscriptions. I went to my library this morning to check out 2 books, and they have seed libraries where you can go get free seeds to plant in your garden. I'm signed up for a free class on how to update your will. My library has a free notary public, free games and puzzles, free sewing lessons. Some libraries even have cookware you can check out. So libraries are not just about checking out books. You've got videos, you've got audio, you've got supplies, really a lot of things. And then there's activities beyond authors talk. So it's free. One of the best things about the library where I am here in New Orleans is they have something called the Culture Pass, where you can sign up and get free passes to museums or the Louisiana Philharmonic, the Audubon Zoo, and those cost money to go to. So if you're on a budget like I am, take advantage of your local free Culture Pass that your local library has free of charge. And all you need to do is get a library card. It's that simple. I reserve books online. They let me know via email when my books are ready. I go pick them up. So easy. So that's the first way to get involved. Another is many neighborhoods have lending libraries where people just swap out books or book swaps. I swap out books with many of my girlfriends who are reading, and rather than, I can also donate books to local charities for resale. And many people resell their books. I just give my books to people who I know will appreciate them even more. And they do the same with me. Another thing that may be in your community is a book festival. I recently attended a fantastic one that's hosted here in New Orleans. It's called the New Orleans Book Festival. It's held at Tulane University. Many local universities have book fairs, by the way. That's another great way to get involved. The book festival at Tulane, the New Orleans Book Festival, took place March 11th to 14. Would you believe it was free? So free is one of my favorite words these days, except that you want free advice, which is a whole other topic. But free to attend is great. 20,000, a record 20,000 people attended over 3 days, including 2,000 just for a dedicated day of families. About 43% of people came from out of state. So this is a destination for book lovers. And almost over 5,700 books were sold. 130 books had author signings. There were 106 sessions. I attended one day. I wish I attended the whole time. It really was fabulous. And there were 250 authors and other participants. I have to tell you, it was a great experience. And I feel so lucky to live in a city that is so committed to arts and literature. If you are interested in learning more, you can actually go to YouTube now and go to NOLA Book Fest at YouTube, NOLA, N-O-L-A, Book Fest at YouTube, and see the sessions for free on YouTube, as well as prior sessions on cspan.org, live event, NOLA Book Fest. So this festival lives online now, but I can't wait to go back. My dream would be one day to have a book and be able to present it at the NOLA Book Fest. There's also the Tennessee Williams Festival here in New Orleans. I got to plug my city. Tennessee Williams wrote much about the South and New Orleans. Of course, I'm a big Streetcar Named Desire girl. Sweet Bird of Youth, Cat on the Hot Tin Roof. There are horror book. If you like certain genres, there are horror book festivals. There's Southern book festivals, Civil War book festivals, book fairs, not festivals. So find something you like and maybe do some research to see where there may be special events around those or local meetups in your community. You can also join a book group. A lot of people join reading clubs. My university, Tulane, has a reading club. It's a great way to socialize and get involved and embrace reading. Now, I found something fun to share with you. You may or may not agree with it, but it's Psychology Today. So first of all, I am a little old school. I like to read real books. I like to thumb through the pages. I love the feel of a library book. Yet I have friends that only read on Kindle because it's a lot easier when you're traveling. And I am going to eventually break down and get a Kindle. I do not like reading on my phone. I don't like reading on my computer books. I'll read the news on my computer. So when publicists send me advanced copies or PDF form for me to read on like Goodreads, which is a great online source for reading books for free, it's great, but there's nothing like holding a book. So you got to find your personality. How do you like to read your book? An actual book, a Kindle, your computer, your phone? Do you go to Goodreads? Do you go to other online sources? Pick what you are most comfortable with. Also, pick the time of the day that you like to read. I have learned, I used to be a night reader in bed, but I keep conking out. My eyes get tired. So now I tend to read when I cut out in the afternoon when I'm done with work. My work day, I'll take some time just to sit and read, and I love to read on the weekends. There is just nothing more relaxing than curling up with a book, whether you're at the beach, under an umbrella, sitting out by the pool, curling up in an armchair, whatever. I actually have a room here in my house that has no TV and it's just books and art, and it's my reading room or my writing room. And I'll curl up there sometimes when my husband wants to watch TV, and I will just sit and read. I have a great chair for it and I get lost into it. So you got to find your reading personality, the type of way you like to read, the time of day, and don't pressure yourself to overdo it because your eyes can get tired. But you want it to be joyful, not stressful. So, Psychology Today says this: reading books reveal personality traits, emotional states, and intellectual interests. Your choice of genre, from fantasy to mystery, reflects how you process the world, with avid readers often demonstrating higher empathy and analytical skills. So, I guess I have that. But more importantly, think about your kids or your grandkids. Get them to read, get them off their phones. It indicates a desire for knowledge. I couldn't agree more. Or a preference for structured, quiet mental engagement. Hear, hear. Again, we've got to get everyone from kids to adults to seniors off their phones and scrolling and better reading. I still read newspapers. I cry every time I see a newspaper go down. The Associated Press is letting people go. I hope that never happens with books. I want authors to be successful. I want people to have voices. So this is interesting. Again, Psychology Today, great magazine. Fiction readers typically are empathetic and creative individuals who enjoy exploring human nature and emotions. Well, I love fiction. I hope you do too. It's a lot of fun. And when you get a really good book and you can't put it down, like I like to read on planes, it's the best. You can't put it in, it's a page turner. Fantasy readers, they're creative and idealistic world builders who use reading to escape and engage their imagination. I'm probably less of a fantasy reader than more of a fiction and a memoir reader. Mystery thriller readers, my husband's a mystery thriller reader. Analytical and detail oriented. Really? Investigators who enjoy logical problem solving. I debate that. I think sometimes mystery readers are also just wanting to escape. Nonfiction biography readers. Me, I love reading about history. I love reading kind of historical biographical books. Generally truth seekers who are curious, focused, and enjoy learning concrete information. Well, yeah, I'm that person. Romance readers. They're usually empathetic, optimistic, and highly attuned to social relationships. I went through a phase where I read a lot of romance novels. My favorite was Sweet Savage Love. I don't do as much of that now. Horror readers. I am not that person, but I have friends who love scary movies. They're often thrill seekers who are emotionally resilient and interested in the unknown. So, what do your reading habits say to you? Well, this is me. Reading multiple books at once suggests fun and random, a style that includes high energy, curious personality, and values variety. Well, they nailed me. Rereading favorites. Do you like to reread favorite books? I do sometimes, not a lot. Indicates comfort, emotional connection, and a preference for nostalgia. Reading fast and constantly. Ooh, I probably do that. Suggests goal-oriented, focused, and analytical mindset. Reading habits can even hint at your emotional state, with thriller readers often looking for intellectual challenges, while others may use books to manage stress and improve emotional regulations. Well, I can tell you, with all the crudola news and crazy posts and tweets by people in power, I have tuned all that out. I don't want to see it retweeted. I don't want to see these reposts. I would rather dive into a book or listen to music, which we also love to do here at our house. It's my form of escapism, and I love it. The only thing better is taking long walks without my phone, disconnecting from everything and just listening to nature, which I do quite a bit now, and I highly recommend because it's so great for you to move. Do not read and drive. Do not read and walk. Reading should be what you're doing, nothing else. It's not really a multitasking thing. To really read appropriately, you need to be focused on the book. I am not a member of a book group because I actually am not one of those book discussion people. I love going to book festivals like the NOLA Book Festival, and I will go to other book talks at local libraries or my local bookstore. And I've signed up for all the local bookstores because I love to support independent bookstores. But I'm not really a book club person or a book group person, I have learned. It's a little too structured for me. I don't like to follow rules, but I have some very good friends who have book groups, and it has become a mainstay of their social life. So you got to do what makes sense for you. Okay. Let me fix my camera a little bit. There we go. So what am I reading now? Well, I get a lot of books sent to me by publicists who want their authors to be on my show. They're not always great. So I do, for anyone who does want to send me a book, I do read the book. I do like to get the book to see the quality of the book and the pages. I think self-published books are great, but sometimes they're poorly laid out, which is kind of a turnoff for me. Gosh, I have a lot of friends who are self-publishing, but the quality of the book and the graphics and the font actually matter to me. I want a font I can read. I'm turning into a large font girl. I like to see imagery that is good. So that's me personally. Like I said, I have very dear friends who are Kindle all the way. I may give it another try. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, my husband David gave me one of those early candles. It was purple, and he loaded it with books, including the Velveteen Rabbit. I'm not sure why, but it was sweet. And I did try to read on it, but I was having a lot of vision issues during chemo, and I just found it difficult to read on my Kindle. Again, you got to find your reading pattern that matters to you and what you like to read. Here's something you may not know about me. I love to read poetry. April happens to be National Poetry Month, and I actually subscribe to a daily poem delivery. Literally, there are sites that will deliver you daily poems, and I actually read a daily poem. I enjoy it. I find it calming. I think poetry is beautiful. It's a creative way of illustrating an emotion, a situation, a time, and a place. If you say you're not a poetry person, there's so many genres, you will find one. And just remember, some of your favorite singers are poets first and foremost. So give it a try. Go, a daily poem, or I don't know what I just get them delivered to me all the time. And I like reading poems. They're short, it's fun. And I have friends who are very good poets, and I love to support them. Just so you know, I will recommend some books now that I'm reading or have just finished. I may or may not interview the author. It's just sometimes hard to book people, but here we go. If you follow the show, you know I recently interviewed Betty Fussell, who is at 98, wrote a book called How to Cook a Coyote. And we talked about her memoir, My Kitchen Wars, which is a really fantastic read. I just gave the book to a very dear friend. It really chronicles Betty's life from the 20s up through when she found her voice as a successful writer. Highly recommended. She also wrote a book that I'm reading now. She is a brilliant essayist. Let me see if I can get this up. It doesn't. This is called Betty Fussell's Eat, Live, Love, Die. Kind of morbid, but really the death part is not part of it. She's just in her 90s. She published it, so she's a little focused on the end. But it's basically essays, some of her best work over the years. Most have a food theme because she's a food essayist. It's easy to read, and Alice Waters, the restaurateur and chef from Chez Panisse, wrote a beautiful introduction. I'm reading it now. What I like about reading essays is they're like snacks. They're literally like reading snacks. You can read a 1, 2, 3, or 4 page essay and put it down, and you don't have to bend the page and say, I got to go back and reread to see what's going to happen next. There is no next with an essay. There's another essay. So that's a great way if you're not a novel reader. Go start with essays. Really terrific. And again, Eat, Live, Love, Die. Betty Fussell is a beautiful writer. I just read this book, Recipe for Joy. The author is Monica Comas, Comas. The book just came out. I read the proof. If you can see, that's an author's proof. Interesting book. Why did it intrigue me? Because it's about two sisters who grew up in a small area of the Midwest and was raised by their grandmother after the mother dies. And they love their grandmother. And over time, the two sisters become estranged. One goes to New York and marries a very wealthy man and becomes the New York girl. And the other also lived in New York, but didn't do so with her career and ends up going home and eventually cares for her grandmother and has a strong connection. The grandmother dies, and the two sisters get in the mail one day a recipe book and stories with each recipe. And the grandmother basically, well, they get a recipe book, but what they really get are recipes in the mail. And the grandmother asks them to each cook each recipe and tells a story about it, and then asks the two sisters to talk about the recipe and their memories. So the recipes actually bring the sisters back together because the two sisters, Belle and her other sister, I can't remember her name. Belle is the main character. The sisters had grown apart, but the recipes bring them back together, and the familial connection with the grandmother. Interestingly, the grandmother and her sister also had a split and didn't speak for years, and is only after the grandmother dies that her sister comes back and reconnects with her grandnieces. It's a lovely book. The recipes are in the back. It's about family connection through the table, embracing family even after you have become estranged. And it's an easy read. And in the back are recipes. So Grace and Annabelle are the older sisters, and then Belle and Lexi are the younger sisters. The lives parallel. They're estranged. They come back together. It's all through the beauty of these recipes and connection. Recipe for Joy. It just came out. And I don't know if this is Monica Comas's first book, but good read. And I'm actually going to try some of the recipes. Another book I'm reading right now that also just came out, that's why I have the advanced copy. It's called Service Ready. It's by Molly Arani, who opened a restaurant in Asheville called Chai Pani, which a few years ago won Outstanding Restaurant of the Year by the James Beard Foundation. Molly and her husband, Mirhawan, literally had no restaurant experience and decided to create a restaurant in Asheville that serves Indian street food, which is what Mirhawan grew up eating when he was a boy growing up in India, and he remembers from his family. Molly goes into excruciating and agonizing detail about what they had to do to open this restaurant. They had really no experience. And so it's kind of a book about what to do and what not to do, but along the way, she learns to create a restaurant that she feels defines hospitality. I'm still reading the book. She shares her 10 core principles that shape the path that has made Chai Pani a success in Asheville and also has created offshoots in other cities. I have not dined at Chai Pani. It's Chaipani, which is based in Asheville, not Nashville, Asheville, North Carolina. But David and I are hoping to go there because we want to support the Asheville independent restaurant community and the cultural community and the citizens of Asheville, because they were deeply affected by a major hurricane a few years ago. And it is a beautiful area. Mirhawan Arani has been nominated for an outstanding, a Southeast Chef Award for the James Beard Foundation. Eager to meet them. But I'm reading it now. It just came out, Service Ready. It's really hard to do this on the screen. Now, I just came back from the library before I started this show, and I picked up 2 books. I also have a library book in the car that I forgot to bring in. So that library book is called, sometimes I just read about books and I literally go online and put them on hold in my library. The book that I have in the car that I'm sorry I don't have here is called All the Cool Girls Get Fired. It is by two women who are high-level media executives, and they get fired because all the cool girls get fired. The authors are Christina O'Neill and Laura Brown. One worked at Condé Nast, high level. One worked at Wall Street Journal, high level. And if you know anything about the media industry, the higher up you rise, the quicker and harder your fall, because eventually you rise to the level, as I have been told myself, you rise to the level where you're so senior and expensive that somebody's going to come in and say it's time to cut, and you will go and be replaced by somebody less expensive. That's the state of the media industry. It's a tough business. What I love about this book, though, is the positive attitude. It is All the Cool Girls Get Fired. It's a guide for women navigating job loss, reframing it as a rite of passage, and I totally agree, and an opportunity for career reinvention. Double agree. I have reached out to these authors. I'd love to have them on the show. What I love about this book, and I wish I had when I was fired a long time ago before I started my company, my former company, M Young Communications, it teaches you how to negotiate a package when you were let go. Like with everything, don't accept the first offer. Negotiate. And if you really are high up, get a lawyer to help you. It will be the best investment you have. Otherwise, you may not get the best end of the package. And you want a good package when you have devoted a significant part of your life to a job and a business. If you're a freelancer, sorry, you're shit out of luck. I hate to say that. And I should be like, but freelancers don't get the benefits that people who are on have a W-2 have and are on staff. And I wish there were legal rights for freelancers. If you know of anyone that offers legal advice for freelancers, I know some freelancers that could use some help right now. Anyway, what I love about All the Cool Girls Get Fired is, in addition to this incredible advice from legal to how to deal with health insurance to how to figure out what you want to do next and how to retool your resume and stay relevant in a job industry that's constantly changing, particularly in the technology end, and you're constantly being, competing against people a lot younger than you. It also tells you about very famous people who were fired. And hey, you're not alone, because guess who got fired? Carol Burnett, Mika Brzezinski, Katie Couric, Deborah Norville, Oprah Winfrey. Many amazing women in media and other careers lost their jobs for whatever reason. And is a badge of, at this pace, it's just a badge of saying, I did it. Because at some point, if you were working for someone else, the likelihood is you will eventually be fired, downsized, dismissed, restructured, moving in a new direction. You can call it whatever it is, you're being fired. So just look out for number one, you negotiate the best package, and do get this book. It's really, it's a good book. Again, All the Cool Girls Get Fired. And hopefully I can have the authors on this show sometime. I picked it up at the library because where can you get free books to read that are really awesome? Your local library. So this is the book I just picked up. Again, I read book reviews and then I go look at the library to see if I can get them. This one, it just speaks to me immediately. I can't wait to start it. Plum Johnson wrote it. I don't know a thing about her. It doesn't matter. What matters is the book's called They Left Us Everything. After almost 20 years of caring for elderly parents, Plum Johnson and her three brothers have fallen into their middle-aged knees with conflicted feelings of grief and relief. Now they must empty the house and sell beloved history antiques, oxygen tanks, and God knows what else. This book is about this experience. Well, having just gone through this, where I had to go home to Tennessee to care for my mother for almost 2 years and then help her transition into her afterlife or wherever the hell she is, into her grave, I had to clean out a 5,000 square foot house that was filled with 4 generations of stuff. And you're like, you got to be kidding. They kept all of this. And she left me everything. She didn't leave much cash, but she left me the contents in the house. And I had to learn how to empty it. But also I learned how to monetize and do an estate sale and deal with the emotional angst of all this stuff. I can't wait to read this book. I don't know what the emotional takeaway will be. but I'm looking forward to reading it. And I love helping all my friends who are now going through this. I still kind of go to estate sales and then have a little trigger situation because I remember somebody died and you're looking at all their stuff and nobody wants it. And I went through that myself. But if this book has any iota of humor, great, because that's the book I want to write. Lavender Love is the one I'm going to call mine, about how my mother left me a ton of purple stuff because she loved purple. And that included 25 bathing suits, dozens of purple umbrellas, more purple saran wrap than you can ever imagine, and about 100 platinum blonde wigs. Don't even go there. And much, much more. So sometimes I read books to inspire me to write. Because I may be reading 3 books. I'm also writing 3 books. I just got to focus on one maybe so I can hit the jackpot. But I sleep and write in my sleep. Literally, when I sleep, I write in my sleep. And unfortunately, I have a journal next to my bed. I'm big on journaling, and I can write what I dreamt. But that's how much I love writing, and that's how much books inspire me. The other book that I picked up today, it was there. I didn't have it on hold. I had the Plum Johnson. They left us everything on hold. This book was not on hold. It just popped out on the shelf and was available. And I was like, I'll never interview this woman, but I have amazing respect for her. Never, because she's French and she's probably doesn't have time to. There may be a language issue, but this is Gisèle Pelicot. Shame Has to Change Sides. The book is called A Hymn to Life. You may know Gisèle Pelicot as the woman who was living in southern France, and she had this horrific husband that she trusted and loved. For many who they were married for years, and he drugged her and invited like the neighborhood dudes to come have sex with her while she was in a comatose state. And she started having numerous health issues because she was being gang raped and didn't know what was going on. And the dumbass husband, videotaped it. Well, let's just talk about dumbass. Anyway, long story short, there was a trial. He was convicted, and this brave woman faced her husband and testified, which must have been very difficult. So she wrote this book. She is a beautiful woman. You can't see the face. Beautiful woman. I honor her by reading her book. And I'm looking forward to reading that as well. I don't know which one I'm going to read first because I already have 2 I'm still reading. But that was my library run today. I go to the library once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, to stock up on books. Now, I also have 2 books, not by men, but not by women. They're by men, excuse me, not by women, by men. But I'm excited to read them. The first one I learned about at the NOLA Book Festival at Tulane University. It's called House of Smoke. House of Smoke. Oh, I can't. House of Smoke. There we go. House of Smoke. A Southerner goes searching for home. It's about the great writer John T. Edge, who was he lives in Oxford, Mississippi. He hosts a show on television about the South. He's an author. He's won numerous awards. I know John T. Edge from my days running the James Beard Foundation Awards. He was on the restaurant committee. He's a brilliant author. And the book, he read the introduction of the book, and it made I got goosebumps just from the introduction he read. Because John, like me, had to go home. He went home, and he had to understand what his family is like after living away. And his mother had some issues, and it resonated. I really haven't even begun reading it except for the intro. It resonated with me because I moved away from home when I was 18, 19. I went to college. So I moved away from the South when I was about 24. I moved from the South, and I moved to New York to have another perspective of my life and pursue my career. It was the first time I had left the deep South. And for the next 35 years, I lived in the North. So north of the Mason-Dixon line. And coming back home to where I was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee, to care for my mother and live in the South was challenging in some ways, because even though I was a born and bred Southerner, I had changed. my perspective had changed living in the North, and my mother had changed in a very strange way. All I can say is my liberal mother had developed a little bit of racism, and that was awful. We totally disagreed about what the purpose of the war between the states was about. In the North, it's about it's about fighting and abolishing slavery, but in the South, it was about states' rights and keeping slaves. And we got into some hot debates, and I realized that there are differences that still exist. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to reading this book. John is a brilliant writer. This is going to be one of those books I'll probably take on a vacation to read, because I love reading really good books on vacation. I probably take at least 2 or 3 books with me when I go on vacation. We're not running around. And I love going to the lending libraries and perusing them and stocking up on books. So I'm excited about that. The other book I just got that I'm looking forward to, this is again advanced reading. I don't know when it's coming out. Oh, it's not coming out till September. I know the chef, Patrick O'Connell. He is the founder and chef of the Inn at Little Washington, a multi-award winning restaurant in Washington, Virginia. On the street is Middle and Main, and the name of this book is Middle, Main, and Gay. A chef finds his place in the world against all odds. Well, that should be quite interesting to hear from Chef O'Connell. He grew up gay in the 1950s, worked as a paper boy and a cook at a hamburger joint, and he found his place with other misfits in the addictive restaurant scene. I love reading about chefs who work their way up in restaurants, because I worked with a lot of them over the years when I ran my company in New York. So I have a soft spot for them. And if you are really into that, I do also highly recommend Drew Nieporent's fantastic memoir, I'm Not Trying to Be Difficult. It'll take you back to New York in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, early 2000s, which I'm actually writing about right now on my Substack, Melanie Fabulous. I'm writing about my life in New York in the 1990s and all the amazing chefs and restaurateurs I work with. Terrific book. It's called I'm Not Trying to Be Difficult. So that's what I'm reading right now. And it sounds like a lot, but remember, I'm pacing myself. I don't put any pressure on myself when I read. I tell publicists all the time, hey, give me time to read the book. I read on my own time. And like I said, I don't mind reading different books, the same as I'm writing 3 books right now. You find a way to read that inspires you. You find a genre that inspires you. And if you want to read alone, that's great. If you want to read with people, that's great. But I'm going to tell you something. I think reading is really sexy. And there is nothing I love more, big reveal, than seeing my husband holding a book with his reading glasses down to here, engrossed in a book. He does it a lot when we're traveling. And I just love it. My heart melts. I wish he'd do it more, because I can't stand it when he's scrolling. And I know he hates it when I'm scrolling. And we all spend way too much time scrolling on our phones. But when he's reading, I think there's nothing sexier than watching a man read. I just think it's like awesome. And I love seeing people reading on trains, on planes, and airports and subways. And they're lost in a real book. I just think it's awesome. That's just me. I love to see people writing in journals. I am a big journaler. I love going to book talks. I love going to libraries. I love the quiet that reading brings you. It centers you. I don't like it when people ban books. I don't like it when people judge you based on what you're reading. Reading should be freedom of speech and freedom to read. I don't agree with everybody's freedom of speech these days, but I also don't try to silence people. If I don't like what they're saying and I don't want to deal with it, I just go another direction. So I hope this show inspires you to read, whether it's essays, poems, novels, memoirs, thrillers, mysteries, how-tos, self-help, cookbooks, recipes tell stories, poems, whatever it is. Go out there and pick up some books, support some authors. It's hard being an author. All I want left in life is to be a best-selling author. I don't want to do anything but just be a best-selling author. And it's hard to discipline yourself to write. But when I read, I am inspired to write. And so when I speak, I'm inspired to help people find ways to center and be calm and expand their horizons. So today, I hope this show encourages you to center yourself and also expand your horizons by reading. And of course, if you want to support me, check out my book on melanieyoung.com, or you can go to Amazon, of course, and Fearless, Fabulous You, Lessons on Living Life on Your Terms by Melanie Young. Essays, if you don't want a novel. And of course, if you or a loved one have been diagnosed with breast cancer, early stage, Getting Things Off My Chest, The Survivor's Guide to Staying Fearless and Fabulous in the Face of Breast Cancer is the Lonely Planet Guide to the Trip You Didn't Want to Take to Cancerland, and I'm going to help you get through it the best ways you can, fearlessly and fabulously. So that's my shameless plug, but it's not shameless. It's awesome, fearless plug to read my books as well. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Fearless, Fabulous You. Now let's get reading. And as always, you can choose life on your terms, or you can choose to live life the way other people want you to. Always choose on your terms, and always choose fearless and fabulous. Thank you.